time, let's bring up our first panel. We're ready for our economic development panel. And I'd like to introduce our moderator of the panel, Rebecca Olaguibel, she's Director of Retail and Business Development with the City of McAllen. And let's bring up our economic development panel this time. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Rebecca Olaguibel, Retail and Business Development Director for the City of McAllen, Texas, way down south. I'm super excited to be here with this panel of industry experts. I'm excited to hear what they have to say. And let's give them a round of applause, everybody, for being here. So let's get the lay of the land. I'm going to ask our panelists to introduce themselves and tell us a little bit about themselves and something exciting that they're working on.
Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate that. I'm Strube. I work for the City of Smithville. I'm the Director of Economic Development and Grants Administration. And the most exciting thing we're working on right now is an innovation center where we're going to be really providing training opportunities for those small entrepreneurs, small and emerging businesses. So we're very excited about that project.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Josh Schneuker. I'm the Director of Economic Development for the City of Seguin. For those of you who are not familiar with Seguin, we're just about an hour south of here, off of I-10 within the San Antonio metro area. Pretty rapidly growing community right now, and some of the exciting projects that we're working on is bringing Texas State Technical College campus to our community, and we've got a ton of manufacturing and industrial in our community that we're also working to grow and expand that base as well. So looking forward to the conversation here today.
Hi, my name is Malish. I'm Director of Economic Development for the City of Lockhart, Texas. We're the barbecue capital of Texas, and we're located southeast of Austin. So something pretty exciting happening right now is Austin Community College just recently annexed Lockhart. So we're really going to be focusing on building that talent pipeline.
Hi, I'm Cynthia Hernandez. I'm the Executive Director for the Belton Economic Development Corporation. We're an hour north of Austin on I-35, and I think a couple of exciting projects, land acquisition and infrastructure improvements. I think that's exciting. It's certainly a roller coaster ride, but something that we need.
Hi, I'm Kris. I'm the Executive Vice President for the Greater Waco Chamber of Commerce. One of the many hats that we wear in our team is land management for the Waco Industrial Foundation. So we manage $150 million land portfolio. We are in acquisition mode right now to grow the portfolio. And also, we have a 50-acre tract adjacent to Baylor University that we are developing into a technology park. So that's an exciting thing happening for us.
I'm Super Dave Quinn. I run Day One Experts. It's an economic development consulting firm based out of Frisco, Texas. We also created the Texas Economic Development Connection, which helps small and medium-sized manufacturers looking to relocate or expand into Texas connect with economic development professionals across Texas. If you've ever done business in Texas, you know we do economic development a little bit different than most states, and you have to have conversations with just about every community, and so you have to know people like this to make things happen, and that just isn't understood by a lot of small business owners who are looking to locate in Austin. They don't really mean Austin, could mean Seguin, it could be Belton. They don't really know what they mean other than they've heard Austin and Elon Musk is here, so what does that mean for them? And so we help them through our platform connect with economic developers, a free resource for them. But we have several communities here that we represent, Utah, Gerald, Marble Falls, in the region, some others. And so I'm here to talk about that.
Thank you. That's funny because Elon Musk is also in the valley. Is that correct? Okay, so let's start off with the tough question. What are the opportunities and challenges you're seeing in your region and your city right now?
Okay, so I should have also said Smithville is just east of here, about 40 minutes. It's a very small city. We've got about 4,000 people there. It's 4 square miles in city limits. So that is one of our challenges. Is just our size is it's difficult to get some more larger entities to kind of look our direction. But what we're doing to kind of deal with all of those types of challenges, we're looking at other ways of we play well in the sandbox, right? We have a really good partnership with all of our local entities, with the school districts, and also in our region as well. So we're working together with the county, with CEcD Austin, with Super Dave. We're trying to build all those relationships and make sure that we are able to kind of speed up the permitting process, trying to make sure that the door to the city manager is always open, that we're always able to pick up the phone and talk to somebody and get those kinds of connections together.
So opportunities for us in Seguin, our location really lends itself well to continued growth and expansion within the manufacturing industry. So Seguin's only about an hour, 55 minutes south of the Tesla facility. We're also just about 55 minutes away from the Toyota facility in San Antonio. So we see a lot of activity from automotive suppliers that have opportunities to serve both Tesla and Toyota, looking at Seguin for potential expansion. So we're working several projects right now to potentially expand our manufacturing base that will continue to support the growing automotive supply chain cluster throughout South Central Texas as well. But as we continue to see growth and expansion in the industrial and the manufacturing sector, obviously challenges for us for making sure that the infrastructure is keeping up with the industrial growth and the residential growth that we're seeing as well. But we are looking at several different projects to ensure that we have that infrastructure in place. So we're working to support existing water utility providers within our area. The city of Seguin is set up very well when it comes to our long-term water supply portfolio, so helping those entities out that might be in a bind given the growth that we're seeing as well. And then also, working to expand our roadway capacities, our wastewater capacities. We have hundreds of millions of dollars in infrastructure projects that are currently active and under construction within the city right now.
So for Lockhart, some of the opportunities are, like Josh, we are located off of SH 130, so there's a lot of projects that are starting to pop up, a lot of industrial parks. We have one industrial park right there, and within 2 years it completely sold out. So and then we also have the Lone Star Logistics Park with 137 acres for development, just kind of tucked away off SH 130. So really the proximity to SH 130 is really our biggest opportunity. Then some of the challenges on the flip side, we're not really located off of IH 35, and so we're a population of about 15,000 and rapidly growing. But it's kind of hard to gain the attention of the retail developments, things that are needed for a growing population.
So Belton, I would say some of the opportunities, it feels like it's an opportunity in my opinion. Austin grows closer to us every day. The real estate prices are still pretty competitive, and so we're seeing a lot of interest in Belton for industrial, for residential. Some of the challenges I would say is just keeping up with the infrastructure for the growth. And the EDC, we've invested millions of EDC funds into roads and wastewater and water projects to help facilitate and build capacities for that growth in our area. And then the last item, just in terms of opportunity, is just the talent, the proximity to talent in our region as well.
So Waco is growing for sure. I'd say starting today, so mark your calendars for the next 18 months, is the next expansion of I-35 through Waco. I'm sorry. But with challenge comes opportunity, right? And so I take a break, spend some money in Waco while you're waiting in traffic. But it's needed in our community for sure. And so we don't want to be a bottleneck to growth. And so I would say that's the challenge that's on the horizon for us. Just like everybody else, infrastructure is a huge thing for us too. And what we've done locally is create the opportunity for public-private partnerships to where we can accelerate the growth and expansion of infrastructure more quickly than our municipal partners can, and creating opportunities for reimbursement back by the city over a period of time. So, for every challenge, there's an opportunity and there's a solution out there, and we're working on it.
So in my role, I get to talk to a lot of small business owners, and it's a little bit different than traditional economic development. In that a lot of times they don't even know what economic development is. And they're not a high impact, what I would say high impact, right? So if you have a 15-person manufacturing firm within your community, not a big deal unless you're a really smaller. Some of my smaller communities would kill for that. But there's a lot of my communities that were saying, look, we need to sneak people in the back door, because if I bring somebody that has 300 or needs 300 workers, I'm going to get kicked out of my job, right? They're going to get run out of town because their other manufacturers are already there. We all are facing some workforce issues and challenges. And so it's pretty interesting. I think there are a lot of small business owners who have now recognized doing business in Texas is really good for them, but they have no idea what that means. They don't know what it means to do business in Texas. And a lot of times they're moving their families. It's not a business decision. The business questions are 4 or 5 questions down before we get to that. They want to know what Friday night is like. They want to know what church is like. They want to know what their little leagues are like, quality of life. But almost all of them are needing 50,000 square feet and less, right? So they're not huge. I think the opportunity is in communities that can find that, because there's not a lot of existing space, even for the smaller market, unless it's completely run down and should be bulldozed instead of used. So I think there's an incredible opportunity, especially in the smaller market communities where, again, you don't need 300 people, you need 15, and maybe you can pull them in from a 60-mile drive, 60-minute drive time. And if you can show them the quality of life first, they'll figure the rest out. That's what I found with small business owners. We were just joking about business owners. We just figure it out. We have a problem, we're moving. If it's a good place to live, we'll figure out the rest. And so I think there's an incredible opportunity for communities to kind of dive into that and leverage that again.
Thank you. I know that at the City of McAllen, quality of life is very, very important to us. It's something that we strive to give our community as well. So I appreciate that comment. And when we had our prep call, we also talked about placemaking and cultural districts. And Cynthia and Jill were very passionate about that. And I'm wondering if Cynthia, if you can, and Jill, tell us a little bit about placemaking and cultural districts and how that helps you with your developments.
Sure. So I've been in economic development for 19 years now, and in the old days it was really about how much land you had and if it was shovel ready. And with the shift in unemployment and people able to live wherever they want to live, there's a lot more focus in our community on talent attraction and how do we make our community attractive, not just so that we can say it's a great place to raise a family, but to make it attractive to the young professionals, to various demographics, because it's important for business recruitment. And so in our community, we've launched an Imagine Belton initiative, which really takes 15 different zonings in downtown Belton and streamlines it to 5 zoning areas. And so it's easy for the developer to understand what is allowed in this district, and it'll create a lot more opportunities for a walkable, well-lighted community and outdoor areas, and something that we know that is attractive to individuals looking to be connected and in a vibrant location. And so that's something that Belton has done, a little different than what we've done in the past. The community's done an amazing job of maintaining the small town atmosphere with its charm, but we're growing and we have to recognize that we're growing. So as we continue to grow, what do we put in place to continue to move in that direction, but to facilitate the investment?
I'm curious about what triggered that move, and kind of like thinking about the city. Did something happen, that triggered, we need to really focus more on quality of life? Sorry.
Well, it's the continued discussion of where is our talent coming from. We have amazing universities in our region, but what we understood from some of our employers is they're recruiting at college campuses. And as they go all over Texas to recruit these college students, when they're receiving offers from Austin, Dallas, and some of the larger cities, we have to compete. And so it's understanding that everyone is our competition, but it's also, COVID revealed that a little bit for us also. There was a lot of interest in our downtown, and our leadership kind of went, okay, well, what happens when everything is bought up around the courthouse? Like, what's the direction, what's the vision? And so it was truly expanding the boundaries of our downtown and streamlining the process for investment in new development in our community.
Is there anything you'd like to ask?
Sure, yeah, actually Smithville did it a kind of a different, we are so small, and been small for a very long time, and very rural. One of the things when I first came to the city in 2009, we did an economic development survey, and we found that the top concern of the people when they were, the residents were really concerned with the idea of maintaining the look, charm, feel of the small town experience for themselves as residents. And so that's where kind of the placemaking and the cultural districts activities started from for us, was really looking at the quality of life for our residents. And kind of like, if you become attractive, then other people are going to become more attractive. So let's make it attractive, let's make it, let's make the city the best place we can make it for the people who live here. And then we'll start to bring more people will see that, they'll be attracted to that. So the big thing. So we've been a cultural district through the Texas Commission of the Arts for over 10 years now. And really leveraging the funds that we get, just a little bit of money here and there. We did have a National Endowment for the Arts program, which I'm very proud of in 2016 through 18. So that brought a lot of our local artists to the forefront to be able to really do some fantastic artwork and different murals and all of that. That program is just really, really making Smithville look like its own place, making it very unique, keeping that look, feel, charm of the small town. We did put in some preservation for our historic commercial district, so we were able to be able to do some. We now have a historic preservation design standards committee that will just make sure that there's not going to be a huge change to that look, charm, feel, historic aspect of that. So we're doing things to prepare for the growth that we know. We're at the other side of Bass Rock, and Elon Musk is at the other side on this side of Bass Rock. So we know that we'll be slammed as soon as we can, as soon as people get there. So kind of making sure that our town doesn't become anywhere USA has been very important for our community. And so this cultural district preservation, that's been something that will help us to be unique and will continue, I think, for help us be Smithville.
I love that. Holly, you mentioned a partnership with Austin Community College. Can you tell us about that?
Sure. Austin Community College, it's taken a couple years to kind of get it moving forward. They annexed us, and then phase 3 was to purchase a building, but they happened to do that in phase 1, so we're 2 steps ahead, and they're going to be starting to offer classes in February. And it really gives us an opportunity to meet with CTE programs at the local school district, and with ACC, their career pathways for people, to sort of guide what is going to be in that building and how can it be modular and how can it teach a variety of classes. And one thing that we were talking about was the school doesn't really have a cybersecurity, and the CTE director was talking about how she didn't know how she was going to do this program just simply because of the firewall. They can't get past the firewall. It's very difficult. And so then we talked to ACC, like maybe that's something you can do because it's easier for you to do. You teach those cybersecurity classes. And so it's really, going to be great because we can get in, like I said, on the ground floor, determining, what kind of classes are going to be offered, what do the local businesses need for workforce skill sets, and, how to upskill the local community as well.
Thank you. Josh, I believe you mentioned also a partnership with a technical college. Can you expand a little bit on that?
Yeah, over the past several years, we've been working with Texas State Technical College to expand their not only their service territory into Comal and Guadalupe counties, but right now we're also working with them on development of a brand new full-fledged campus that will be located off of State Highway 46 in Seguin. So this is a process that started shortly after COVID. We're working with our state representative on legislation to again expand that service territory. We did have some pushback from our area community college district. It could get a little cutthroat with community college partners, but we were able to garner enough support, from our local industry, our regional economic development partners, the San Antonio Manufacturing Association. I even believe we have some stakeholders in the Austin area that did help support that legislation. So it was House Bill 4997 that was passed in the, I can't remember what legislative session we're in anymore, but not this one, but the previous one. That was passed, and so TSTC then was able to enter into our area. They're currently leasing about 25,000 square feet of space up in our neighboring community at the New Braunfels Airport, and they're teaching welding programs, industrial maintenance, and industrial systems technologies. But the new campus in Seguin will be built over multiple phases and will really align with the demands of industry, not only what those demands are today, but what we project and anticipate those demands going into the future as well. So really expanding our capabilities on manufacturing related training, construction and skilled trades, those types of items. So, in order to win projects, you've got to have the people and the skill sets in place in order to be competitive. And TSTC is going to really help accelerate our economic development recruitment efforts and really strengthen our business retention efforts, providing that training that we sorely need out in our area.
Thank you. I'm impressed with how many programs you all are running. You must have very big staff. A lot of staff? No?
It's just me.
It's just you?
Right now.
You're amazing. That's awesome. Okay, Ms. Kris. Something that's really important to us down in McAllen is our public-private partnerships. Can you tell us about any public-private partnerships that you're excited about or that you can talk to us about?
Sure. Well, we've been doing public-private partnerships in Waco for a really long time. Mentioned in my intro, the Waco Industrial Foundation. It's a private nonprofit that owns real estate and works in partnership with the city and the county to basically be the third third leg of the stool of economic development. So you have the private sector, you have the business, and then you have the public sector all working in concert together to help create expanded tax base, job creation in our community. That's the goal for us as economic developers. And so we've been doing that since the early 1950s. It's nothing new for us, but we've been able to expand that mindset in different ways. There's been a tremendous amount of roadfront development and downtown development in Waco happening. We haven't been, Baylor just built a brand new basketball arena on the river. That was done through 3P, right? And so, when we're working with developers, working with all of the partners to make it work, it's about finding the win and the solution for everybody. And so I would say, that's something as you're talking to any of us, coming to the table with a challenge, we're going to come to you with a solution and try to make it work the best we can.
Thank you. Anybody would like to add?
I just have one thing, and we help a lot of small business owners kind of couch this. If you come to the NEC and you say, I need an incentive, that's generally a red flag and will probably send them on their heels. But, as Kris said, if you come and say, man, I'm having a problem, I'd like to be here, but I need to fill this gap in your financing, whatever it is, I need this road train, moved over, I need this line out of the way. Man, economic developers love to solve problems. So when you come to us, just know that if you present the challenge, we'll pick it up and we'll run with it. But if you come looking just for an incentive, instantly, same thing, it may be a financial incentive that we give you, but it changes the conversation so much. And I think y'all all agree that when we go to city council and say, we're trying to solve this problem, that's a much different conversation than, well, they're gonna need X dollars in incentive to make it happen. And I think that's one thing that a lot of small business owners and developers, sometimes they don't know the right language to present their case with. So that's just a little tip.
That is really very insightful. It's so true because I think we're all problem solvers. And so that's so true. If you come to us with a problem to be solved, we're more likely to solve it. And, we might end up with an incentive deal, hopefully, right? I love that advice. Thank you.
I just wanted to add, along with what Dave says, also if it aligns with our strategic plan, because it's already been board approved, it's already been city council approved. So it sort of aligns that's a problem that can be solved easily.
I can add as well. It doesn't have to be a problem. Like in our community, we oftentimes have the real estate brokers or developers stop by our office because they're evaluating the site, they have a client, they're doing their due diligence, and so we can be the boots on the ground to help you with that. Often our projects are confidential, and so we can be the go-to to the planning department to inquire, and we don't have to disclose who we're working with. We can ask the hard questions up front before a whole lot of investment is put into something, or when you're going through your process. It's not uncommon for us to call the planning department and say, can you look at that? Is that the only interpretation of what you put out there? And so we've established those relationships, boots on the ground, and so we fully expect to be utilized, and we want to be a partner and your advocate when you're working in our communities.
Thank you. So here's a question for the panel. What are some of your, value-added, retention and expansion, processes that you go through? How are you, grabbing a client, getting them in your city, and then adding, more and more to it? How are you helping them expand?
Well, in Smithville, there's a couple of different things. One of our biggest partners is with the Smithville Area Chamber of Commerce, and Caroline's back there. She can wave at y'all if you find that there she's waving. So we have, like I said, we really rely on our partnerships to be able to put all the pieces together. So, the Chamber offers a variety of different lessons or training sessions. We also have the Workforce Training Center, now called Career Tracks, which can help provide training for any employees or prospective employees for folks that are expanding or just needing to fill in where they might need to fill some things in. We're really just trying to do as much as we can to make sure that, as has been said, we're trying to solve those problems, trying to make sure that whatever it is that you might be missing, that we can figure out how to fill that in. And a lot of that right now we're concentrating on the workforce, the training levels, making sure that the labor force is up to speed with the different, we're doing healthcare, technology, CDL licensing, like all kind of like soup to nuts. We've got a whole lot of different things going on to be able to make sure that that workforce is available and ready for businesses coming in and businesses that are there to expand.
Yeah, on our end, the biggest thing is making sure that you have those relationships in place and making sure that customer service, you're 100%, focused on that. If we ever get an inquiry from an existing business, our team, the expectation is that we're going to be as responsive and try to solve that problem, as quick as we can. If we can't solve the problem ourselves, we're going to try to find an avenue to get there, whether that be with another stakeholder. So, these businesses in your community, they're not going to know, who to come to if you don't have those relationships in place. So we work very hard in being proactive with business retention meetings, developing and cultivating those relationships with our existing businesses. We also are very involved in workforce development outside of Texas State Technical College. We have a lot of partnerships between our K through 12 institutions and our existing industry, really kind of facilitating conversations. One thing that I kind of learned as we started to have these conversations is that nobody was talking to one another. So the industry had all these demands, the school districts had these programs, and nothing was aligning. And light bulb goes off, hey, let's all get in the same room and talk this out. It sounds so simple, but it just wasn't being done. So we do that now on a regular basis where our industry partners, whether that be in manufacturing, healthcare, construction, skilled trades, they're meeting with our CTE directors at our K-12 institutions. They're meeting with our post-secondary providers to make sure that we're in alignment and working to build out new programs that will continue to support those companies going into the future as well. But in addition to that, it's also, we facilitate meetings that provide networking and relationship building opportunities with our manufacturers. So that not only affords us that opportunity to continue to build that relationship, but they also need to build that relationship with one another in our local area. So again, it's relationship building, customer service, and always trying to meet the needs of the customer, in this case the customer being the businesses in our communities.
So everything Josh said. And I want to add also to know your product. Know your product, like what buildings are available, what land is available. That really comes into play, being an aggregator of that information is, we had a company that was in a building, they moved out, equity company bought it and they said we're leasing. I knew of a company that was looking to consolidate their warehouse space. And, I connected them together. They said if it was one day more, it was like the right time, the right place. If it was one day more, they were going to be, having multiple warehouses in different cities. So I'm keeping that in our city. And so, that was kind of a win for us. And then, also additionally, they went from like a 10,000 square foot building to now they're going to be like in a 60,000 square foot building. That's a big jump, in terms of doing your product and production lines and your warehousing. And so, I connected them to the Texas State SBEC, right, because they have experience in scaling up. And so, like I said, it's just along with Josh said about having the relationships, the personal relationships, it's also knowing your product.
I think a lot of what we're saying is probably true for all of the communities. We too meet with our educators once a month. We connect our existing businesses with work classes and our new businesses when they're looking to do job fairs or really scale up. Work classes is an opportunity as soldiers are exiting the military and moving into the civilian workforce. And so we have those relationships also. Specifically, when we have an existing business and we target industry, or we have a specific business that's expanding in our community, we do offer incentives to our existing company as well. In any project that we do, we run an economic impact analysis, whether it's a new one or an existing one, but they are eligible for the same programs in our community as a business.
Well, just to say, so again, I market to small to medium-sized business owners outside of Texas. One of the best ways I tell my economic development community that they can attract those folks is by shining a light on an existing business in their community. And we do that through the Gone to Texas podcast. What happens is the business owner generally doesn't have time to talk to me. Give me 20 minutes. I get on the phone with them or I get across the desk from him. We have the conversation. I turn off the recording device and then he says, "You want to turn my plan?" And then in that hour that he shows me around his plan, he mentions that he's having a lot of trouble with staff having a place for their kids to go to school, and the child care is on the other side of town, and there's all these issues. The economic developer would have never known that because it's not a normal thing that like when you sit down and survey, they don't mention that because they're kind of thinking about business. But by creating the opportunity for the business owner to talk about themselves, it endures some trust, and then they start thinking about other things that they need to talk about, and through that is how you help them. And so I think that's a really insightful way. You all have these programs. It's just how does the business owner know that they can solve it? Sometimes they don't have time. Now, being a business owner, I understand that, to sit down and think about all my problems and all of the solutions. I need someone to make the dots for me or connect the dots for me. And I think if the economic development people, that's what they do. Again, it comes back to knowing the local economic developer and trusting them with the challenges that you're facing and let them connect dots for you.
Cluster growth. What are y'all working on? Is there a particular cluster that you're looking at, growing? Is there something that is kind of already, not as important as it was maybe in the past? What does that look like in your cities?
We're starting to have this food and beverage manufacturing cluster. Obviously we have barbecue, that's great. And then we, as an industry, it's great. We start to have, companies that do a lot of distribution and they choose Lockhart. It's a good location off of SH 130, so we have a couple of co-packers now that are, bringing in different clients that they're working with, and so we're getting a lot of exposure on that end. And then, really it's just everything based around the food and beverage, and I think it's just simply because of the proximity to Austin and San Antonio off of SH 130.
I'd say, an area that we've seen a lot of growth in, and it's been part of our community for a long time, is manufacturing. So, advanced manufacturing is an area that we're really diverse in the types of companies that are in the community. So you have everything from candy with Marty Wrigley to Sherwin-Williams and there are businesses that are here. So we make diapers, Olaguibel is really good too. So there's all sorts of cool things that are happening here, but the idea is when we're looking at the types of industry that are coming into our marketplace, we're looking at it from a couple of different perspectives. What's it look like from a land perspective? What's it look like from jobs? I mean, these are the high quality, high paying jobs that we want to bring into the marketplace. And then the other piece of it is around resources. I mean, what is the impact on infrastructure? What is the impact on natural resources too? Because if you haven't heard about water being an issue, it is. And so, that's something that's really important to our leadership, to the point where we've actually said thank you, but no thank you on a couple of the projects because it would be too much of a drain on our system. We're looking out 50 to 100 years of what is the natural resources going to look like for our community. Or if we're looking at specific industries like data centers, let's have a serious conversation about it. But perhaps we don't want to be the data center capital of Texas, and we want to be really selective on the numbers and the size of those that come into the marketplace. So we're having lots of discussions in the community about that. So that's our focus.
Yeah, I would just echo that as well. Out in Seguin, manufacturing, advanced manufacturing is definitely a key target for us. About 1 in 3 jobs actually in Seguin right now are in manufacturing, but similar to Waco, if you kind of dive into the industry sectors that make up manufacturing, we're pretty diverse, and it is, it's a good thing because it can help, when we have ups and downs in the economy, it can help, help us ensure that we're going to be a little bit more stable than, other communities that might be a little bit more, reliant on, things like tourism and things like that, that are more impacted by those ups and downs in the economy. But in terms of our current deal flow, obviously, with our proximity to 2 major automotive manufacturing facilities, Tesla and Toyota, we see a lot of automotive. And the semiconductor industry, I don't know about y'all, but I think the amount of suppliers that we saw definitely slowed down from a few years ago. But the Samsung facility that they're building up in Taylor, I mean, the impacts that not only has within that local area is huge, but it is spread across all of our communities. I mean, even down in Seguin, we were able to successfully recruit a supplier for Samsung to our community. So that just shows you, especially on some of these mega projects and in rapidly growing industries like semiconductor manufacturing, that the impact that it has not only in the local area, but really across all of our communities within South and Central Texas.
I'll add Belton. Advanced manufacturing is one of our targets, but we're not in a position yet where we're turning businesses away, except for we also are having to look at what are the capacities needed, and if it's not something that's sustainable, we have to have a conversation of this may not be a good fit for our community. In terms of the growth, I would say that Samsung created opportunities for our existing businesses. We have a couple that are existing that are now suppliers to Samsung, and we have available spec buildings, and it's interesting, a lot of the interest for those buildings really are related to housing. And so suppliers and services that support residential and new development seems to be one of the interests in our.
That's interesting. Okay, I'm going to go off script. Okay, here we go. If you could change one policy or process to make industrial expansion easier, what would it be?
I would update our zoning regulations on light industrial and industrial. So in Seguin, we only have 2 classifications, light industrial and industrial. They're out of date, they need to be updated. Something I've harped on. Hopefully we'll get there, just to make it easier and provide some more clarity, because it can be very hard to interpret what falls in between, and it makes our job a little bit more difficult. Obviously, it creates frustration with the end user, whoever we're working with there. So that's the first thing that popped into my head.
Man, that's a tough question. I honestly can't think of anything. I mean, we've updated our zoning, we've increased our water supply for the future, working with GBRA.
I don't know if this is what you're looking for, but I'm going to go there anyway. In the last legislative session, they changed the city's ability to annex, And if you're in the EPA, I think you're able to opt out. And as economic developers, as we're looking for areas to grow and we're making investments in infrastructure, it causes a little bit of pause from the city to do anything beyond the city limits because there's no guarantee that that will be annexed in at some point. And so that creates a little bit of a challenge as we're going through the land acquisition process that we're going through now. Because ideally you would want to grow the boundaries of your community, but if we go too far beyond the city limits, I believe that the leadership pauses a little bit because they want to be sure that the growth occurs inside the city.
Here's a question for Dave. We're looking for some free advice. What advice would you give communities looking to position themselves as leaders in industrial and manufacturing growth?
So I think you need to know who you are. So often communities really don't know. They're like, we want to do everything, right? There's 10 different targeted industries that the state of Texas wants, and everybody's welcome. And they are welcome, but who are you really good at? And a lot of times our conversation and our marketing speaks to everyone. It's very bland, and it's very, I don't know if that's for me or not. There's a lot of thinking that has to go on. Rather than stating your claim around a particular industry or sector and going all in on that and helping, that means not only on your outbound marketing, but helping that industry really go deep with that industry. What will happen is if you get really successful, then you can go out from there. But then you start to build some momentum around that. And I think as communities, sometimes we don't want to do that because we're afraid we'll run somebody off that might not fit that. But it's kind of counterintuitive. It's like any other business person. If you know who you're a fit for, there are those people out there, just go get them. But if your message is too broad and then it gets really hard and you're just trying to be everything to everyone. And it's okay to tell someone no because that doesn't fit our thing. And as economic developers, we hate the word no. Like that is not in our lexicon. We absolutely hate it. So when we have to say no, it's painful. But it's for the greater good of the community. I think sometimes you can't just say we want to be great at manufacturing. Manufacturing what? There's a lot of different manufacturing things, and you got to know who you are. I might want to be the next bioscience, life sciences epicenter. But if you don't have the infrastructure that's related to that, you will never get there. I mean, you just can't, no matter how much money you offer incentive and how good your marketing is. So you really have to understand the infrastructure that you have available. Who does it match up with? Then what is the language that I can use to make sure those people know that I have this infrastructure and then help them connect? It's really simple, very hard to do in practice.
Okay, so let's go down the line. Kris from Waco. What is Waco really, really good at?
We are good at making stuff. I'm serious. I mean, we just are. It is part of the community DNA, and we are really, really good at making things in the community. There's a lot of innovation that happens there. So we talked about Elon Musk. Well, Elon Musk's first Texas footprint is in McGregor, right outside of Waco. And all of the vertical launch and landings and all the things that you see where they're landing out on barges and now they're bringing rockets back, that came from our community. And so we're really good at doing that kind of stuff. And so I'd say that, is it all the right fit for us? Probably not, but when we look at all the pieces of the puzzle, we have the workforce training, we have the cross-connectivity across multiple types of manufacturing, cross-training of people across industry sectors, and we have the infrastructure, we build out the water, the wastewater, and we have the electrical transmission, and all those pieces, so we can say we're really good at that. And when we say it, we mean it, and we can deliver on it. So that's where we double down.
I would say we're good at growing this stuff, and not in an agricultural way, but we have a lot of small manufacturing in Melton, and a number of manufacturers that have reinvested and expanded multiple times. And so, for a community of 27,000 to have about 25 companies that we identify as industry, and to have many of them, we make everything from modular homes, we have 3D printers. We have, we make augers for drilling and farm equipment, and so a lot of this. But anyways, I'll just say that our community does well with small manufacturing and helping them grow.
So very similar to Belton, we're very good at growing things, small, medium-sized manufacturers. Also, I haven't mentioned this before, but because we have close proximity to Star Park at Texas State, so we've gotten, one or two of those startup companies that have continued to invest and reinvest and grow in our community. So.
I thought you were going to say barbecue.
I already said that.
I would just probably call Seguin based on the description I heard Waco Jr. At this point. So we're also, manufacturing is in our blood. We're a blue collar community. We have, manufacturers with facilities and their businesses that have been in Seguin for generations. And we have actually a plant manager in Seguin that kind of refers to our area as, he likes to refer to it as the little Silicon Valley of manufacturing, with just how many companies that there are there, the collaboration that they're able to bounce off one another, sharing best practices, helping each other grow. That's important. And, when we're bringing other companies into town, to potentially bring more manufacturing into our community. Our existing businesses are sometimes our biggest cheerleaders. We rely on them to, kind of validate our story, because we're going to be rah, 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 all the good stuff all the time, but when they hear it from, a plant manager or something in your own backyard, and they understand, like, hey, Josh isn't out there just blowing smoke, they're really doing a good thing here with manufacturing. They created an environment that's collaborative with all the manufacturers, and the manufacturers don't see other companies coming in as anything negative. They see it as an opportunity to further collaborate, further grow the workforce, and further work together.
So in Smithville, I think I want to say two things that we're really good at. One is, bringing everybody together, getting people trained up, getting people to understand what it is that it needs to do for the next step. Even insofar as figuring out for your own, any individual looking for a career path kind of thing. The other thing I just wanted to say is, I was thinking about the cluster stuff. What we really have is we've got a medical cluster there. We've got the only hospital in the county, the only full service hospital in the county. We've got a number of, when you look at all the medical related jobs, that's the largest employer in our city limits. So we've got that as one of the things where with our workforce training center, we're doing a lot of training for all the CNAs and the LVNs and the emergency medical and all that type of thing, that we're really doing a good job of making sure that healthcare is one of the number one things that we're working on there.
Well, before we wrap up for audience Q&A, I'd like to ask the panel just to wrap up for any of our brokers out there in the audience. What's the best way to connect with you? Any tips and tricks, intel that you could offer anybody in the audience about how to get a deal done fast in your city? You can start with Kris.
I think the fastest way is certainly if you've got a client and they're ready to go, we're ready to go too. So we're going to move at the pace that you need us to move. And so just communicate that to us on the front end, and we'll make sure that we're communicating that amongst our leadership and our partners too, to help them understand the timeline that's needed.
I think it's going to be the same for all of us, and the more information you have up front, the more we have to work with to help you get through the process quickly. But I think we're all looking to move at your pace and get the deal done.
What's a really good indicator for me is if you have a timeline, about when you want to start, about how many jobs you have, about what's the wages. You kind of have that information already in place, well established, and we can move a lot faster because a lot of our incentives and impact analysis is based off of that information.
Yeah, I would just say, anybody or everybody in this room who's involved in industrial real estate in some way, shape, or form, I highly encourage you to connect with any economic developer in your service area. That can provide some kind of inside knowledge of what's happening in that community that you might not be aware of, that you can't find online. And that helps paint a better picture for the clients that you represent as well. So please engage with us. We all love to talk about our respective communities, and we would enjoy to have that conversation with you and try to work with you in any way we can to help get your deals over the finish line.
And the only thing I have to add is, like everybody else here, I have business cards. Just give us a call, and we'll be happy to work with you.
Dave, any closing remarks for us?
Yeah, so if you have someone that's looking and you want to connect to multiple communities at once, you can go through our website, texasecconnection.com, and we work like a regional or statewide organization. We'll take your information, we push it out to our economic developers, and we have them connect with you. We're the concierge, and it's a free service to you. The EDCs pay our fee, and so we do that. If you want to connect with me, simply Google Super Dave Quinn. You'll find me, I promise.